What do you think? So speaking of the masculinity, what do you think is hurting young men the most these days? That's limiting their masculinity.
Oh man, there's a lot. I did a podcast the other day with Dr. Anthony J. He wrote this interesting book called Estrogeneration. He kind of goes down all of these sources of environmental estrogens that are lowering men's testosterone levels and increasing estrogen levels. And the subtitle of his book is Why You're Fat, Sick, and Infertile Today, sort of thing. So that's one of the most interesting components. Like, we were kind of getting in the weeds and we were talking about water. And it got to the point that a lot of source of environmental estrogens comes from city water lines, because women are mostly on birth control. They pee that into the sewage system. Sewage systems can clean out large particles, but it can't clear out hormones. So there's estrogens in the water. And if you're drinking tap water, you're now drinking estrogens. So I said to him, I go, do they know that this is in the water? And he said, yeah, they know. I've visited these places. We've talked about it. They know there's estrogens in the water. So the government knows that there's estrogenics in the water and that it is softening society. Is it intentional? I don't know. Let's put on a tinfoil hat and we can go down for a road trip on that one. Wow. But there's lots of things that are softening men. I think guys aren't taking ownership for their lives. They've been told, to just basically comply. Do what everybody's told you to do. Just be a nice guy, go to school, get a job, do the right thing. By the way, they tell men and women different things. They tell guys, do the right thing. They tell women, you do what's right for you, girl, right? Mm-hmm. So guys get this narrative that's been beaten into them pretty much their entire lives, where they've been softened. And it's no wonder why you see so many guys right now walking around in their 20s with female breast tissue. Like they are just soft, round versions of men that, their grandfathers would be rolling in their grave if they knew about it, right?
Mm. Wow.
What's your experience with these soft men, Nat?
I've come across a few. I mean, I'll be honest, like, as a woman, when you meet that, like, I could see why women find that comforting, because sometimes those manly men can be a little bit aggressive to women. So that's why that type of soft men is almost embraced by women.
Yeah, but those soft men end up in the friend zone.
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah. Those soft men have.
So you want to give them a hug, you're not trying to fuck them, though.
Well, I don't do that. But,
okay.
But yes, you wouldn't. I wouldn't look at them in a way of marriage.
Birth control too, though, right?
Say that again.
Because when women are on hormonal birth control, they like softer guys. Right. So one of the problems that women end up with when they get married is, okay, maybe they're on hormonal birth control, dating the guy leading up to the marriage. They like him. Tim's a nice, soft guy. He buys her flowers, texts her in the morning. Hey, babe, how you doing? Sort of thing. And then she comes off hormonal birth control when they get married. Maybe she gets knocked up. Maybe she doesn't. But a lot of women, after they get married and they come off birth control, they realize, I don't really like this guy so much. I kind of like the alpha guy over there.
Yikes.
Oh, look, there's Kevin in sales. Let's go talk to him.
Kevin in sales.
Shout out to Kevin.
Yeah.
Just tapping everyone's girlfriend.
I stay away from those things, because I know those things it's like manually moving your hormones. And like, I even have issues taking like Advil, just because you don't really know necessarily like what's going on inside of those pills. So I stay away from them.
I guess the next question is, Richard, how can you balance being a traditional man but dealing with modern women today? Because it's not like we can go back in time and reinvent women and be like, all right, I want you to be more feminine and more friendly and fit and all the good stuff that we're used to, how we want women to be. We're dealing with modern women today. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we can address. But we are dealing with women of today. Mm-hmm. How can a traditional alpha man, or even just a normal man, balance living their life and dealing with modern women?
Oh man, that's a long conversation. 2 weeks, 10 hours on that.
I wish we had more time.
Are you
talking
about a traditional man in the sense of like the tradcon avatar, kind of like a Matt Walsh sort of guy?
No, like just a guy like you and me. We're out there, we're making money.
Well, guys like you and me understand the way things work, my friend. Right? Like we've unplugged from the matrix, sort of thing. So, for guys like you and me, it's okay. Well, let's not invite chaos into our life. Stay away from women with loads of red flags, with daddy issues. It's been run through by a bunch of guys covered in tattoos. Like, these are things that we are smart enough to look for, so we don't complicate our lives unnecessarily. But I mean, a lot of the times, like, I'll give a guy my book, or I'll just say, hey, opt into my email list and get the 20 red flag chapter, and they get mad. It's like, well, there's no women if we just like if I have to vet them all with these 20 here, then I'm never going to get a girl, Rich. Okay, well, that's the reality of society today. The reason why I give you these tools is so that you can see them for what they are, understand them, and then, adapt accordingly. But what they don't seem to understand is, well, if that's all that you see, then that's all that you are worth. Do more work on yourself, become more competent, learn more about game, learn more about, whatever it is that you got to sort of fix in your life. Maybe you're boring as shit. I don't know. But if all you see is 20 red flags in every single woman that you talk to, there's something wrong with you. I'm in an LTR. My gal's great. There's lots of women out there that don't have red flags. Do the work on yourself and they will become available to you.
Yeah. Speaking of being boring as shit, what's the famous phrase or quote? I've heard you say this before about being boring and how women perceive boring men.
You can do anything to women except bore them, right? Exactly. Like you have to be captivating as a man, right? Like when you've got money, then I would assume that you're doing cool shit. I mean, there's a absurd number of guys that are weapons in business. They've built incredible businesses. They make lots of money, but it's like, well, what do you do for fun? I like watching Netflix series. Really? Like that's what you do for fun? Like you don't travel, you don't have a boat, you don't like planes, you don't like fast cars, like you don't do anything interesting that you can say, hey babe, we're going on a supercar rally for the afternoon down to the winery. You want to come in my McLaren? Oh yeah, like women like that kind of stuff. Be interesting. It's not that difficult.
Yeah,
that is
true. And if she asks, well, Richard, I would go, but what color is your McLaren before I go? That's a red flag right there. It's like, just get in the fucking McLaren. Shut your mouth. So maybe a better question is, how can men vet women better? Because listen, full disclosure, I'm not a car guy. I don't have hobbies. I'm not doing rock climbing. I'm not going mountain climbing. I live in South Beach. I don't go surfing. I don't collect baseball cards. I like to do three things. I like to hang out with my homies. I like to make money and do shit. And I like to hang out with hot chicks. Period. End of story. You now know Saws. So we men have a weakness for pretty women, no doubt. Whether they're right for you or wrong for you, men have this weakness. This is how civilization continues to prevail, is because men have babies and children. So I guess my question when it comes to vetting women, what women should men steer clear of no matter what, especially in a long-term relationship? And if you do want a long-term relationship, what type of women should you pursue or run towards in your life? So who should you avoid and who should you go towards as a man?
I would recommend avoiding any of the women that have a load of red flags that aren't being worked on. So if you don't know what the red flags are, it's in my book. You don't have to get the book. You can opt into my email list and get it for free. Just go to my channel and it's there. Or maybe the admin team can put it below in the video. Sure. So that's really what you should be vetting for. But let's say, for example, she's the kind of gal that has like an addictive personality to shopping. And she realizes that she has a shopping addiction. She likes going and buying 3 lamps. She brings them home, tries them out beside the bedside table. They don't work out, so she has to return them. And this is what she does with her weekends. Well, if she recognizes that that's a problem and that she has an addictive personality and it takes care of her free time and she's doing something about it, that's good. Okay. It's a red flag that she's identified, but now she's taking ownership for it and she's doing something for it. Okay. So just having the red flag may not be a complete deal breaker. I mean, a deal breaker would be she's covered from head to toe in tattoos. Okay. There's not much that you can do about that, for example, but some of the red flags are fixable if they take ownership for it. The second part to that was you were saying what kind of women to invite into your life?
So like any girls with tattoos, high body counts, addictive personalities, shopaholics, materialistic. My favorite is high maintenance women. Stay the fuck away from those women, gentlemen. So we know who to avoid. Adam. What's that?
You can't handle me, gals, right, Adam?
Maybe you're not man enough for me, Richard. That whole deal. So we know who to avoid. What type of women should a man gravitate towards, or at least pull into their gravitational world?
Well, I think if you vet for the red flags, you're going to be left with a far better pool of women to choose from, right? And then you want to look for women that are more agreeable. They're going to be a complement to your life. Like if you're a man on a purpose, you're on a mission, you're doing something, you're putting a dent in the universe. And if I text my girl and she's heading over and I say, hey, can you grab a bottle of wine? Dinner will be ready, or I got dinner ordered, it's going to be here at a certain time. And she picks up a bottle of wine, or she asks, which one do I want, sort of thing. Or like, she's compliant, like she's helpful.
Yeah.
Right. She sees that, laundry needs to be done, and she's, oh, okay, let me take care of that. I'll throw the load in the machine and give you a hand, sort of thing. Like, women that are useful in your life are a far better choice than women that are like, well, I'm not going to do anything. I don't cook. Okay. To me, that would be a red flag. A woman that's not owning her feminine frame. There's a buddy of mine that I've known for a long time, and he calls these blue jobs and pink jobs. And he says one of the reasons why his marriage is so successful is his wife does the pink jobs and he does the blue jobs. She's not out cutting the grass. She's in the kitchen preparing dinner for the family while he cuts the grass, sort of thing, right? So, if you identify these, more traditional roles that sort of serve with what we're interested in, what we're good at, then that's a woman that you might want to consider saying, oh, she looks like she might be good mother stock.
Yeah, I think we're identifying, vetting women and identifying the type of women that you should steer clear of, and the women that you should avoid versus the women that you should have in your life. The more and more I think about this kind of stuff, this is a financial podcast that really highlights how money affects dating, relationships, who you marry, all that fun stuff. The more and more I have these conversations with bright, philosophers like yourself, the more I realize that like the same terminology in money also applies to dating. As example, you want a woman in your life who is an asset, not a liability, right? And that's a lot of times what these red flags in women is. They create chaos in your life. They become a liability versus someone who's useful, willing to do the pink jobs, so to speak, while you can do the blue jobs. And she's an asset in your life, and that's how you can grow your kingdom.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full-length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here. And pinned down below in the top comment, you'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.